Donald Trump Republican, Joe Biden Democratic. The count of the Electoral College ballots during a joint session of the 117th United States Congress, pursuant to the Electoral Count Act, on January 6–7, 2021, was the final step to confirm President-elect Joe Biden's victory in the 2020 presidential election over incumbent President Donald Trump. Unlike previous ballot counts, the event drew unprecedented attention because of the efforts of Trump and his allies to overturn the election results. A group of legislators from Trump's Republican Party announced they would formally object to counting Biden's votes in swing states, while Trump unsuccessfully sought to have Vice President Mike Pence use his presiding role over the count to change the outcome. The joint session adjourned twice to debate objections against the votes won by Biden in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Both objections were defeated in the House and Senate, with only 6 Republican senators supporting the former and 7 supporting the latter. Republican representatives also raised objections against votes for Biden from Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin, but these objections failed because they were not co-signed by a senator. Amid the debate on Arizona's votes, rioters stormed the Capitol building, causing the count to be temporarily halted until officials could safely return to their chambers. The counting resumed in the evening after the Capitol was secured and concluded by the following morning. The United States Electoral College is the group of presidential electors required by the Constitution to form every 4 years for the sole purpose of electing the president and vice president. Each state appoints electors according to its legislature, equal in number to its congressional delegation. Federal office holders cannot be electors. Of the current 538 electors, an absolute majority of 270 or more electoral votes is required to elect the president and vice president. If no candidate achieves an absolute majority there, a contingent election is held by the United States House of Representatives to elect the president, and by the United States Senate to elect the vice president. Each state and the District of Columbia produces 2 documents to be forwarded to Congress: a certificate of ascertainment and a certificate of vote. A certificate of ascertainment is an official document that identifies the state's appointed college electors and the tally of the final popular vote count for each candidate in that state in a presidential election. The certificate of ascertainment is submitted after an election by the governor of each state to the Archivist of the United States and others, in accordance with 3 U.S.C. Sections 6–14 and the Electoral Count Act. Within the United States' electoral system, the certificates are a crucial link between the popular vote and votes cast by electors. The certificates must bear the state seal and the governor's signature. Staff from the Office of the Federal Register ensure that each certificate contains all legally required information. When each state's appointed electors meet to vote, they sign and record their vote on a certificate of vote, which are then paired with the certificate of ascertainment, which together are sent to be opened and counted by Congress. The 12th Amendment mandates Congress assemble in joint session to count the electoral votes and declare the winners of the election. The Electoral Count Act, a federal law passed in 1887, further established specific procedures for the counting of the electoral votes by the joint Congress. The session is ordinarily required to take place on January 6 in the calendar year immediately following the meetings of the presidential electors. Since the 20th Amendment, the newly elected Joint Congress declares the winner of the election. All elections before 1936 were determined by the outgoing Congress. A state's certificate of vote can be rejected only if both houses of Congress, debating separately, vote to accept an objection by a majority in each house. If the objection is approved by both houses, the state's votes are not included in the count. Individual votes can also be objected to, and are also not counted. If there are no objections or all objections are overruled, the presiding officer simply includes a state's votes, as declared in the certificate of vote, in the official tally. After the certificates from all states are read and the respective votes are counted, the presiding officer simply announces the final state of the vote. This announcement concludes the joint session and formalizes the recognition of the president-elect and of the vice president-elect. The senators then depart from the House chamber. The final tally is printed in the Senate and House journals. President Trump, his campaign, and his supporters engaged in numerous attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 United States presidential election. On December 28, 2020, Republican